Make sure your team is prepared to fight off the latest cybersecurity threat. IT Pro TV is the resource to keep you and your IT team skills up to date. You can stream IT Pro TV's courses live and on demand worldwide, so there's no need to send staff to off-site training. Their team solution provides access to a supervisor portal for full control over your team's training schedule and group analytics. Visit itpro.tv/enterprise security and use the code ES30 to try it free for 7 days and receive 30% off your monthly membership for the lifetime of your active subscription. To learn more about IT Pro TV's team solution, sign up for a free demo of their supervisor portal. LogRhythm's Netmon Freemium delivers real-time network visibility to quickly identify emerging threats in your IT environment. Netmon Freemium is a free commercial-grade network forensics and traffic analytics solution. You can use Netmon Freemium's powerful capabilities to search against all observed network traffic, identify abnormal traffic patterns and application usage, and quickly analyze full packet captures. Take the first step towards real-time network visibility. Visit logRhythm.com/freemium to learn more and download it today. Welcome back, everyone, to Enterprise Security Weekly. Please visit our fine friends at itpro.tv/enterprise security. Use the discount code ES30. Try it free for 7 days. Get 30% off the monthly membership for the lifetime of your active subscription. IT Pro TV it's game changer in terms of training. For our own staff here, some new people have started. We've got a lot of Python projects going on. They've got a fantastic course on getting started with Python. So, whatever your need you're trying to solve training-wise, IT Pro likely has training for that. And their platform is awesome. Everything has a transcription. There's videos and very, very talented people that are delivering all the training. So make sure you go check that out. And, of course, their supervisor portal, which lets your employer manage your training and more importantly, pay for your training, which is great. You should encourage your employer to do that. And as an employer, you have my endorsement. You should do that. B-Sides Connecticut is happening on October 7th, 2017. It's full. They are looking for sponsors, which do come with a ticket. There is a waiting list for tickets. You can find out more at bsidesct.org. We will be there as Security Weekly. Doug White will be filling in the role of interviewer and all things security and entertainment value that we'll be providing at our table at B-Sides Connecticut. In the D.C. area, Bethesda, Maryland, on November 13th through the 20th, SANS Hackfest. Go to sans.org/Hackfest17. Use the discount code Hackfest17. Save $300 off the 2-day Hackfest Summit. You should definitely attend this. Ed Scotus has been running this conference for a while now. There's all kinds of fun events and presentations, including one from myself, How to Defend Against Penetration Testers and Win, will be there as well. So that is a lot of fun. And finally, make sure you register for an upcoming webcast we're doing with Endgame. John Strand and myself will be giving the webcast next Tuesday, September 19th, from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Endpoints, of course, are the breeding ground for malware, and phishing attacks are the way they get there. We'll be talking about protecting yourself against phishing attacks. John and I will give the first part, and then Greg Foss from LogRhythm will talk about some advancements they've made in phishing protection from our friends. I'm sorry, that's the wrong webcast. We'll be talking about endpoint. We are doing one with LogRhythm on phishing, and we're doing one with Endgame on endpoint protection, evaluating your endpoints protection software, how to evaluate it, and then some things that Endgame are doing to overcome some of the challenges you might have with endpoint solutions. So tune in to both those webcasts. You can find the Endgame one is published, securityweekly.com/Endgame. That's securityweekly.com/Endgame. Sign up for that. You can hear John and I's shenanigans and then Mike Nichols from Endgame on that one. And we will have more information on how to register for the LogRhythm one. Those of you listening can probably figure it out. It's going to be securityweekly.com/LogRhythm, and you'll be able to get information about phishing protection. So cool webcast coming up from Security Weekly. Very excited about that. Matt Alderman is still here with us to talk about the enterprise security news. I'm leading in with a story on confessions of an insecure coder. And I kind of like, if you're an enterprise defender, like reading this is going to make you freak out. And I'm sure you're already probably aware of how weak the developers are in the area of security. I mean, that's problem is getting better, and that's a generalized statement, but this was some insights into how bugs are introduced into code that can lead to security issues, and just how easy that can be, and how a lot of times it's not like it's an honest mistake, and it stems from, I think, a lack of fundamental understanding of security that's being built into the developer culture. I do think with DevOps this is getting better. However, these mistakes can still be made even if you're in a DevOps environment. Matt, thoughts on how we can, as an enterprise, get ahead of this issue?
Well, it was an interesting read, right? It was a very easy problem she tried to fix, and boom, next thing you know, you cross-site scripting, SQL injection, all kinds of
Right.
other stuff gets opened up in the app. But you said it, you made a statement that I don't know if I fully agree with it yet. DevOps is making security better. I'm not sure we're quite there yet. I think we can. I think it provides a platform
An
to
opportunity.
do
I
it.
think you're
But
right. It's more of an
yeah,
opportunity.
it's an opportunity. Yeah. And the challenge is, look, developers don't necessarily go through security training as part of development, right? They go out and they learn a language and they learn how to code, and
Mhm.
so they go off and code. So yes, we need to bring security to the left, as everybody says, right, back into the development process. And I think DevOps gives us an opportunity to do that. But the challenge I see is not a lot of security companies are embracing moving their stuff left. Everybody wants to be the system of record for whatever it is they have, whether it's log data or vulnerability data or network data or whatever. Look, developers aren't going to log into yet another tool
Mhm.
outside of their development domain to go look for all this stuff. So, security folks, wake up, get your data left, right? Put it into Slack, put it into Jira, put it, if it's important and the developers need to see it, the sooner they see it in the process, the better off they're going to be. So, I think that's the real story here is as security professionals, we got to think about moving our data into the beginning of the pipeline and figure out how we make it easier for the developers to consume this data to make more secure applications.
Well, I think you're right. Traditionally, it's been like, oh, by the way, developers, like, stop what you're doing and go do security. And most of us know that's not the right approach. It just needs to be part of their development process, and like you said, Matt, integrate with their existing tools so that they can understand that. Also, I think my thing is, I think a fundamental issue I think in the U.S. is we need to teach software development earlier on in your educational career so that we can teach you security as you're moving into the workplace or even before you get there, so that you understand those concepts, so that you're comfortable when you go become a software developer that security is part of that development process, not something you stop and do or stop and learn. It's been incorporated into your journey by the time you become a software developer.
Yeah, there's a few institutions that are getting better with the security curriculum as part of their normal courseware, but I still think it's light
Mm.
compared to where we should be. Computer engineering students should learn security as part of architecture and coding and other things. And so some programs are doing it, others, I don't think they're doing enough of it yet. But I agree, education helps, but we're still humans. We're lazy. We keep doing what we do. We click on the link.
Well, and also I think it's hard to build something, to do the engineering piece, and to think about how that might be abused and the protections you need to put in to that system is a separate thought process, right? It's still a thought process you have to go through, but like building and breaking are still very, very different concepts. And how do we merge those together early on in your learning cycle is the real challenge, and it's not easy by any
A-
stretch.
Absolutely. And I think this is where the opportunity really exists for the security professionals and the innovators in the space is by embedding and integrating that security easier into the overall development process, right? Instead of, okay, wait, here's your build, let me send it off to a static analysis tool,
Mm.
then put it in QA and do dynamic testing and this. Can I truly embed security control capabilities into these apps? And there are innovations out there. I mean, this is what the container space I think provides a huge opportunity to do is embedding some of these capabilities into the core applications as they're being rewritten, and then truly controlling them from the inside out. Everything we've ever done in this space has always been from the outside. If we can truly innovate here and help embed this stuff in, then the developers, look, they may not have to know every single aspect of security vulnerabilities and control, if it's already being addressed as part of some of the other instrumentation they're getting out of their applications. And that would be huge game changers in the industry, especially on the application side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of development, the Go programming language, which is, from what I understand, it was like the next iteration of C, right? It was like everything they learned about C that wasn't good, they took into consideration and then developed Go. And it's been gaining some traction in the industry. Signal Science has produced an article about some development tools and for testing and hot reloading in your Go programming environment. And I think as security professionals, we have to be aware of a lot of these newer technologies and some of the potential security shortcomings, and really just understanding the architecture. If you're going to do any kind of application security or be the security person that's going to support modern day applications, we have to keep up on some of this stuff. And it's hard, right? Because sometimes they come out and like as soon as they gain some traction, they're already obsolete and people are onto the other thing. And it's hard to know which ones are going to stick. I think my recommendation is Go is likely gonna stick. Some other technologies could be questionable. Of course, containers are gonna stick inside the development process. And as security professionals, we need to be up on some of this stuff. I think, back in the day when the web was first created, we could understand CGI and then we could understand PHP. And as long as we understood the fundamentals there, we were good. Now there's like new frameworks coming out all the time. And I agree, the challenge is knowing which ones are going to stick. But certainly some of the big players that are going to stay, I think Go is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I used to code in C and C++ back in my master's program, and you're right. It's a strongly typed language like C, compiled, and it creates interesting challenges. Right now, organizations can decide. Look, I like Go, I like PHP, I like Java, I like all of them. Right. With containers, you don't have to pick one language anymore. And understanding the nuances of the languages are going to be important when we think about the protection mechanisms. For example, interpreted languages, you can use certain approaches against interpreted languages that you can't use against compiled languages. And so as you think about deploying protection mechanisms in these applications, these are factors you have to account for. And containers are going to, I think, just continue to accelerate these mixed language environments, which will make it hard for a lot of people who are building protection mechanisms against specific languages to continue to scale and address all of them. And so, these types of things are going to be very, very important as we move forward. I think Go's around for a while. I know there's a lot of development in Go out in the Bay Area because it came out of Google.
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to continue to see this stuff stick.
It'll be interesting to see which, and I don't think it's going to be any one language or framework, what's going to replace Java. Do you think there's a race to replace Java in the enterprise, especially given Oracle not supporting the enterprise version of the JVM anymore, and the recent issues we've had with Apache struts? Is Java kind of like a dying thing?
Maybe for parts of it, right? The Java virtual machine itself, I think, yes. I think everybody's known the challenges there. But on the Java scripting side and the UI side, yeah, that probably stays around, right? I mean, that's how we're building, these new UIs. So I think there's aspects of Java that go and stay. I think you're going to see continued evolution of things like Ruby and Go and other languages continue to come in and offset the need to run everything as a JVM. And so, yeah, we'll continue to see this and maybe less reliance on Java, knowing all the headaches with the runtime and everything else.
Yeah, it's interesting though when you think about it. Like server-side Java, I think largely replaced a lot of the older mainframe-based applications in COBOL when Y2K was a thing, and I think it's going to be a really long time before, especially server-side Java applications, start to go away. My hope is that as we push into DevOps and containers, that developers abandon some of these Java efforts. Although I think much like COBOL, that server-side Java stuff's going to be around for a really long time.
It will. They'll put it into containers to transport it, make
Yeah.
it portable into other technologies. I mean, I think it survives for a period of time. There's too much legacy out there to all change overnight.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, we'll see it. We just have to figure out better ways to protect it in the interim. And I think containers will give us the ability to do that.
Yeah, the app servers have just been pretty terrible when it comes to Java. I think I was talking about it with Doug White yesterday. We were talking about like IBM WebSphere and things like that. And of course, JBoss has had its share of vulnerabilities. So hopefully we adopt new ones. But again, I think it's going to be around just like COBOL. There was an interesting partnership. ThreatQuotient and FishMe have made a partnership. This to me sounds good. I don't know. They said by integrating the two, security teams are able to ingest indicators of phishing that include payload URLs, command and control servers, malicious file hashes, and IP addresses, then import human-readable reports, allowing analysts to link indicators with context, as well as extract and store phishing campaigns, malware families, and artifacts inside of ThreatQuotient, which automates much of the analyst processes to help accelerate the transformation of data into actionable intelligence, which, of course, is the goal. That sounds good to me. I don't know. We read a lot of these articles. That one was in the good category.
Yep, I think that one's in the good category. We got another one later that I scratched my head a little bit about. But yeah, look, end user phishing indicators integrated into a threat intelligence platform like ThreatQuotient makes complete sense, right? It's just the more threat intelligence data we have to be able to act off of, I think the better. So makes sense to me.
So was it the Bay Dynamics one, or probably the last
Yeah.
one? The Bay Dynamics one. Okay.
Well,
Yeah. And so
both of them.
yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
Bay Dynamics has joined. They made an announcement, and I like Bay Dynamics. We interviewed someone from Bay Dynamics, and I like their offerings and their point of view on the problem, right? And they made an announcement that they joined VMware's Mobile Security Alliance to enable risk-based authentication and authorization. And I'm just struggling with this, like what it really means. So they say Bay Dynamics.
You had to read into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
this
want
is
the.
why I scratched my head.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so here's the
mobile.
quote.
Bay Dynamics doesn't do mobile. What
Yeah,
happened?
yeah.
Like,
The mobile
Bay-
piece was confusing to me. So they say the Bay Dynamics flagship cyber risk analytics platform, Risk Fabric, and VMware Workspace ONE digital workspace platform powered by VMware AirWatch technology will enable risk-based authentication and authorization for remote users.
So here's why I'm so confused. If you think about Bay Dynamics, what do you think of them as? You think of them as a threat and vulnerability management vendor, right?
Yeah.
Threat data, vuln data across the device
Right.
and app.
Centered around risk, very
driving
much
risk.
risk-based, right?
Right, very risk-based. So you're sitting there scratching your head going, mobile, authentication, where does that come from? Well, lo and behold, Bay Dynamics has this UBA product on the side,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I was out doing the research this morning, and I was like, oh, they're a TVM and kind of an SIR with this little UBA thing, and I think it's really the UBA side, the user behavior analytics stuff that integrated in with the mobile AirWatch stuff from VMware is providing some information. But that's not how I think of Bay Dynamics when I first think about them, right? It's just kind of this weird piece that hangs off the side of them. The other thing that I thought was really, really interesting, I got to do this. You and I have talked about this for a while. I went out to their website, right? Because I had to understand their positioning just to make sure I wasn't missing something. Quantifying the business impact of cyber risk. Sounds kind of like a cyber exposure company, doesn't it?
Right, right. Well, and where we have to read into this way too much, and I think that when companies make these announcements, we need to just dig in. Like, what's the problem you're solving? Start with the problem.
I couldn't. Yeah, in the headline did not articulate it.
But then talk about the solution, and I think that a lot of the things we read they really don't hit on the problem at all, and if they do, not very well. And the solution oftentimes is a lot of buzzwords and like tell me what your solution is to that problem.
Where's the meat? Right? Where's the beef? How does it help me? I still haven't quite figured it out, but at least I know where the linkage is. I'm just not sure that it's their strength.
Right.
Because they're really driving the risk impact on the business side. I think that's their sweet spot. This partnership didn't make any sense to me.
If the problem is that users' credentials are being compromised, and the solution is through a UBA solution, you can figure out like which users' credentials are problematic and maybe compromised, and then go tell VMware solution, hey, like disable this user or flag this user or take some action. To me, that's powerful, right? You got a problem statement, you got a very clear defined solution, and that integration would be awesome. I'm not sure if that's what they're saying, though. I can't get that from reading it. So
I didn't either.
Also, the last story we have here is Flexera, which is software security. We talked about development and security. Flexera is, do they all have a solution that like looks for open source vulnerabilities inside of your code, or they're even deeper than that? Are they static analysis too?
So I know Flexera mostly on their licensing enforcement and those sorts of things,
okay.
right? So that's where I know them primarily from. I actually went to BDNA's website
Yes,
to
I did
figure
too.
out what they were doing. Holy cow, you want to talk about everything under the sun? I mean,
so
the list of products was crazy.
The statement on their website, right? So Matt and I both do this, right? And John too. We look on their website. We want to know. I mean, we want to know what you do, right? But we want to know what problem you solve and what solutions and your point of view on solving that problem. BDNA's website says that they transform enterprise asset data by enriching it with market context to vastly simplify integrations, improve decision making, and accelerate business transformation. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? I don't know what that means.
No, I have no idea what that means. I don't know if they go out and like grab data from the vendors and integrate it into your asset. I wasn't sure.
Market context is way too broad of a term. I don't know what that means. What does market context mean in the realm of enterprise security or even asset data enrichment? What does market context mean? I don't know.
How many people are buying it, using it, what the vendor configuration? I have no idea. It could be any and all of those.
Right.
I don't know. So supposedly it's an enrichment play. I just don't understand the value of the enriched data and how it helps Flexera at the end of the day. I don't get it.
Well, that was certainly the last two were puzzling.
Can I talk about one you didn't put on the list?
Oh, yeah. Please do. Please do.
So late last week, Oracle made an announcement. IBM earlier this week made an announcement, and then VMware and Pivotal made a similar announcement. And this is on the container Kubernetes side.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're seeing through all three of these announcements is the continual adoption of Kubernetes as the orchestration platform for Docker and containerization. So now you see Oracle, IBM, VMware, and Pivotal all moving to Kubernetes as the backbone for container orchestration. I think that's huge on the enterprise side.
Huge.
You have to remember, I mean, you've got the major players in the industry all going, okay, uncle, Kubernetes, containers, Docker, you're it, let's go.
The Kubernetes choice is
enterprise security news.
The Kubernetes choice is puzzling to me. I would have thought that companies as large of IBM, certainly, maybe even VMware, being such a big player in the virtualization space and wanting to move into containers would say, we can do it better than Kubernetes. But what you're saying, Matt, is no, they're pretty much adopting Kubernetes.
They are. And that's the interesting part, right? I mean, Kubernetes project coming out of Google. Google knows how to do this stuff at scale. All of them have tried their own variations of this. And I think they just cried uncle and said, look, Kubernetes, you're it. Containers are the future. We're just going to get on the bandwagon and figure out how to support this stuff going forward. I think that's huge news.
I agree. It's awesome. Well, cool. As we analyze the industry, Michael, Matt, and myself, really under Michael's guidance, I've been reading some books. We highly recommend Play Bigger. We talked about that on Startup Security Weekly. We talked about the Play Bigger and the category stuff.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
The next one in Michael's recommendation, and the reason I mention it here is that even if you're not planning on creating your own startup in security, right? But you're just but you're someone who's working in security and has to evaluate all of these vendors. those are still valid reading choices for you to help you understand the market and understand maybe why some things happen and evaluate solutions, as we do every week on this show. I want our listeners to gain insights into some of the background things that we do in order to better analyze the industry and the players in the market. And so Play Bigger is definitely one you should check out. And it talks about category creation. I really think that the most recent example, like I said, is the Apple Watch with LTE. I think once you read Play Bigger, think about that in the context of that book, and you'll be like, wow, Apple's really now turning the tables and trying to own that smartwatch category. Now, the next book that Michael recommended was The Brain Audit. And I apologize, I don't remember the authors, but if you search for The Brain Audit, the author actually narrates the book. I'm listening to the audio version. I'm a little ways into the first chapter, and already I can tell Michael's spot on with his recommendation and spot on with the order in which you read these books in. So something just fell off the shelf there. It's pretty funny. I hope it was nothing expensive. I think it was a book. It was a book. Good. It wasn't electronics. Yeah.
The Brain Audit.
It was loud. You know why it was? You know why it was so loud? It was TCP/IP Illustrated Volume 1. It's a hardcover. It's a pretty thick book. So the Brain Audit is great because it talks about sales, but you can use that as an enterprise evaluator of technology to get more out of your evaluation of vendors. You can ask them specific questions like what problem you're solving, what's the solution, and a lot of these other factors that I think we as an industry have to be asking those questions such that Matt, John, and myself don't have to go read these things that we can't make sense of when you're making an announcement about your product's integration or acquisition. That should be clearer to the rest of us. So definitely check out The Brain Audit. His explanation of it is great. I won't even spoil it for our listeners. Make sure you go check that out. It will help you, understand the market and be able to evaluate solutions. I think much better. So that's a little bit of kind of inside baseball, the books we read, which you talk about reading books about sales and marketing, and as a security professional, flags go up all over the place. This is speaks like some kind of self-help book. They're not like that. They're great reads and very technology focused too. So.
Yeah, and it helps separate FUD from value.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of FUD out there. There's a lot of confusing words and the way people mix stuff around. What's actually valuable in the products you're evaluating? How are they going to help you improve? And these books will actually help you do that. You'll look at, I'm serious, you'll look at websites differently and go,
yes,
that doesn't make any sense to me, right? Just tell me where your value is, and it'll surprise you how many vendors can't actually articulate their value.
Yeah. One of the greatest joys for me, when I get to work and we meet with various vendors, is when they get it. I'm like, oh, thank God. We want you as a sponsor because you get it, right? You understand marketing and sales really well in a lot of these different concepts. So it's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, Matt, for appearing on this episode of Enterprise Security Weekly. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. See you next time.